Welcome to the Wizards of Ecom, your no-fluff playbook for online success. Each episode is fully packed with actionable tactics you can implement in your business right now. Take your life to a higher level and excel in your online success. It's time to work on you and your business. Let's do this.
Welcome back to the Wizards of Ecom. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I will be your host for the show. On today's episode, we have a special guest and new friend of mine, Colin Foster, the co-founder of Brainpower. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Carlos. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We actually just recently met at an event at one of my meetups in Miami. You're also from Miami, living in Miami. Yep. Amy was presenting. It coincided with one of her, I think, an Empowery / Amy retreat, and it also coincided with me breaking my 4-month no drinking fast. So you caught me on a special day.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think when I met you, they were literally handing you a shot as I was like talking to you. It was pretty funny.
And who knows what number that was, but I'm going to try to forget that day. I've invited you on the show today to share some of your wizardry when it comes to like the world of Shopify specifically. Sure. And I don't want to say fact checked, but like I checked some of this stuff afterwards, and it's pretty mind blowing what I found. And that is, correct me at any point, because this is my own words and my understanding, is that your specialty is evaluating Shopify market fit for Amazon private label sellers, and then really mapping out or almost blueprinting that launch plan to success on Shopify. When people say the riches are in the niches, like you struck a gold mine here, because what I checked was, all right, how does Colin stack up to other people that are in the Shopify space and that focus on Amazon private label sellers? And I didn't find any.
Yeah, we're the as far as I know, we're the only ones that are really focusing this. Our entire business model revolves around picking the right products, taking them, going multi-channel, and then scaling them up. So we choose the product, and we choose products based on whether we think they have the ability to scale. And Amazon is just an amazing platform to find those products, because we can already start to nail the number one thing that we need for any product, which is desire for the product, right? We know that Amazon is a very strong platform for proving that desire. So yeah, you hit it right on the head. And every business is different. We have different types of clients because there's different types of, and like you and I were speaking about earlier before the podcast, the Amazon community is kind of small, but there's all different types of sellers. You have big brands, you've got brands that are already trying to go multi-channel, but they're maybe not doing it effectively. And it's definitely a unique perspective to have on e-commerce, because every business is different. Everything that we're doing for each business is different. I haven't had one project where the expansion looks exactly the same.
And you provide this expertise, this service in Brainpower. Yes, that's brainpower.agency. Is that right?
Yeah. Brainpower.agency is our website. Yeah.
That's the first time I've seen a .agency. So I was like, I got this wrong, right?
It used to be .marketing, but as we've expanded, starting to expand the business, we kind of seen ourselves more than just a marketing agency, right? It's kind of, and
marketing makes people throw up some walls too.
Yeah.
I think totally. Less so with agency.
Totally.
All right.
Yeah.
And you say you have a business partner.
Sure. Yeah. So we have a pretty decent sized team. We're growing. I do have a business partner. His name's Camilo. He's actually the CEO of the business. He has a lot of experience in the agency world. My background is in customer acquisition, new product launches and development, things of that nature, multi-channel marketing, direct response copywriting. That's a lot, but that's the gist. His background is a lot of operational expertise in the agency world. So we came together, and we had this really strong inclination that there was a desire and a need for this in the marketplace, because we know that typically people tend to diverge Shopify and Amazon as like two separate things, but from an infrastructure standpoint they're different, but from an end goal they're really the same, which is to sell your product. So yeah, I do have a business partner, Camilo, and our agency operates here in Miami and in Orlando, because he's based in Orlando.
You mentioned picking products, right?
Yeah.
So I want to clarify, because I think I knew what you meant. So you mentioned picking products. This is not, what is this? Like, I'll tell you what, you do it. I won't feed it. Like when you say picking products, what do you mean?
Sure. So That's a really amazing question, because it's the first thing we look at whenever somebody comes to us and they say, "Hey, we like your service, and we want to take the product that we're selling on Amazon and expand it onto Shopify and maybe some other channels, and leverage some of the social media channels, all that good stuff." The first thing we need to do is see, can that product be sold on both platforms? Because the strategy in which you sell on both platforms is somewhat different, right? So when you look at Amazon, for example, it is very bottom of the funnel, very high intent. Somebody is kind of looking for something. Whereas Shopify, and you're using a lot of the external traffic sources. So you're talking Facebook and Instagram and maybe YouTube, all these, we're buying traffic from these channels, correct? As opposed to with Amazon, you're buying your traffic from Amazon. And what happens is people's intent level, it's very top of the funnel. They're not really looking to buy anything at that moment. So you're kind of stopping their process, you're stopping their scrolling, so to speak, or stopping their watching. And you have to captivate that intent and captivate that attention, really, to get them to want to purchase. So what we do is we look at products from a standpoint of, can we take this product, which is selling on Amazon, move it to Shopify, and does it have the ability to captivate attention? Does it have the ability to captivate somebody's attention long enough to make them want to go out, grab their credit card out of their wallet, stop looking at their phone, ignore all the other distractions that surround 60% of the traffic that's coming from mobile, and buy this product? So we actually look for 4 specific things on the product side. This is what we look for in any product. The first thing is we look for a new opportunity. What is the new opportunity that the product that you're looking to sell is presenting to the marketplace? A good area of context that I always provide for people is looking at the differentiation between the iPad and the CD player. Okay, 2000 and what year 2000 it was, when CD players are dominating the industry. You had one CD with 18 songs and one artist. And here comes Apple with their amazing marketing, and their new opportunity, their new marketing opportunity that they presented to the marketplace was 1,000 songs that fit in your front pocket, right? When you, as a consumer, when you hear that new opportunity, it really strikes a chord with you, right? Because it's something that's new. Another good one that I always use is Uber and taxis, right? Taxis were taxis. If you were in the taxi game, you knew they weren't cost efficient, they were never reliable, you never knew where they were. And then Uber gets you a car in 5 minutes to your doorstep. So opportunity is the first thing we look for. The second thing we look for is desire, which Amazon is great for. You can't create, desire is like energy. You can't create it or destroy it. It just exists. You can really only tap into it. So we look for desire, and Amazon is a great platform to kind of look for that desire, right? What are people searching for? What are they already purchasing? So we look for desire. That's really important. The next thing that we look for is the experience. How do we improve or change the way a problem is solved, right? So if we have something that I could go into called the toothbrush test that we use at the agency. And basically is this problem that you're solving for the marketplace, your new opportunity, how is it doing so in a different way that other products aren't doing it, right? So that's a really important thing, because that gives products that wow factor. Like, something that you like, a bath bomb is a really great example of that. Like for years, people were using bubble baths, and there was really nothing that crazy about the industry. And all of a sudden you get this ball that you just drop in the tub, and it just fizzles, and it's a wow factor. So we look for a new experience, or what we would call a mechanism, to make that, to fulfill that new opportunity. And the last thing we look for is replacement, which is, what do we replace that's currently in the market? So if we have a new opportunity, if we have the desire and we have the mechanism, what are we going to take away from people? What are we going to take away from people and replace with to make their lives better? So those are the 4 things that we look for from a product perspective. And it's really those 4 things are the foundation. There's other types of things that go along. This kind of becomes a non-linear spider web, but those are the 4 components. We can also look at trends and shifts in the marketplace, thinking of like coffee, hot coffee versus cold brew. That's a shift in the marketplace. So if traffic is shifting in a certain direction, turmeric, it's all of a sudden turmeric just went like that. We know that there's a shift there. And one other thing that I could point out is, is there an ability or a lack thereof to of an authority or a brand in the space that you're trying to be in? So maybe there is no authority in the audience that you're trying to target for the product you're trying to sell, right? If you're missing that, then you have a gap in the market, and then you can then introduce a new opportunity.
And those four criteria, I don't know if that tied into, is that the toothbrush test, or were you going to say?
Right. Yeah. So the toothbrush test is an example that we use from a story that came through the agency. It's kind of funny. So the toothbrush test came in because we had a potential client that came to us. He was referred to us, and he was doing a pretty significant amount of sales on Amazon selling toothbrushes. And the toothbrushes were not special by any means. They were just regular a wholesale item, right? So he wanted to sell on multi-channel, and I looked, and we hadn't developed the toothbrush test yet, right? So I'm talking to him, and I'm trying to let him down easily. I'm trying to tell him, like, hey, we can't, I'm trying to explain to him why this isn't going to work, like why I won't expand it. He just couldn't really grasp it. So I started going through Amazon and started looking through different products in front of him to kind of illustrate how this all works. And we came up with 3 different models after this meeting. And basically, so we think of the first, if we have a toothbrush test, we have 3 pictures. The first picture is that of a regular toothbrush, the ones that this guy had brought to sell. That is not, it doesn't meet any of the 4 criteria, probably other than desire. We know people want to brush their teeth, but it has
hoping.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
hoping.
Right. Exactly. But there's no new opportunity associated with it. People aren't going to stop scrolling on their phone and say, wow, this is a really cool toothbrush, right? So that immediately, if it's a regular toothbrush, the product that you're bringing to us, if it's a regular toothbrush, it doesn't pass the toothbrush test. The next picture we have is like a picture of like a bundle. It's got like an electric toothbrush. It's got a water pick. It's got a nice stand. It charges on its own. That product right there is actually the perfect product to sell on multi-channel. We could definitely take that on Shopify and Amazon for sure. That's a perfect expansion product because it improves the way a problem is solved, right? You've got the electric toothbrush. You've got a little bundle. Bundles do very well on, direct to consumer, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube marketing, or selling on those platforms. So if you have a product like that, a nice bundle or something that improves the way a problem is solved, you have something that can be on both platforms. And then we have a picture of this, it's like a circular hands-free toothbrush that you just put in your mouth. And we actually found it on Amazon. It had very few reviews. And basically you put it in your mouth and it bubbles and it cleans your teeth, right? And what we found with that is that product is actually probably too innovative for Amazon. It should probably be on Shopify first and then expand horizontally into Amazon. And the reason why is because nobody's searching for it, right? Who's searching for hands-free toothbrush? But similarly, where are you going to be advertising? You're going to be advertising in a very saturated market where there's a high level of competition of wholesalers selling toothbrushes for $5, So that's where the toothbrush test exists. So we tend to look for businesses that are either right in the middle, or we say, hey, most of the time it's clients in the middle. Most people on the far right, they're probably not seeing the success they want to see on Amazon. That's one of the clients that I was telling you we see. They're not seeing the success they want to see on Amazon. They are curious if Shopify would work better for them. That would be a hands-free toothbrush situation. So those are the 3 pictures for the toothbrush test.
I totally have a visual of those 3. I can't even imagine what it would be like to have a hands-free toothbrush, but I think that's awesome. Like, that's very well understood. You have the visuals to go with it. Like, after this, I want to go find a hands-free toothbrush for my son.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe he'll start using this. Because I asked that question because when you say I'm going to select, we select products.
Sure.
That, anytime I feel an Amazon seller hears that, to them, it's kind of like, oh, thank God. The perceived hardest part about starting an Amazon business is finding that right product. And a lot of people approach it the wrong way, but you're not saying that in that scenario that someone comes to you and be like, look, I just, I want to stop working at this company. I need to find a product to start with.
Right.
That's not where you come in. You're coming in that they have the product and you're picking what you're going to be willing to work with and take it to Shopify.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think has helped us a lot with, like, just being in the space, and, the Amazon space is, there's a lot of products. There's a lot of stuff we see. I look at products literally all day. That's what my job pretty much entails, is choosing the clients and products that we're going to work with. Because again, our business model really relies on scaling businesses up. Right. So yeah, it really, we do have to turn away, I wouldn't say it's a large part of our client, potential clientele, but it's just, it doesn't serve anybody if we try and put something onto a multi-channel platform or a multi-channel model for selling their products. If we know that, the cost of the product has a big effect on it. If somebody's trying to sell a toothbrush for $5 or $6, $7, traffic on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube is not unreasonably expensive, but Facebook and Instagram, which are the predominating customer acquisition channels still, even now with everything that's going on with iOS 14, traffic isn't cheap. So if you're selling a product that's only $5 or $6, you're almost certainly going to lose money, right? Like it's not almost certainly, you're going to lose money. Unless you've got some sort of toothbrush subscription, and then we get into all the fancy, Shopify, LTV, AOV, good stuff. But for the most part, yeah, you're 100% right there. We don't get to work with everybody. Not everybody has the right product that I would say, hey, yeah, take your, your brand and expand it. There's a lot of people that this guy's doing really well on Amazon, selling, $500,000-$600,000 a month on toothbrushes. Stay there. There's nothing wrong with that. You're doing great. You don't have to expand at this point, and the product just likely wouldn't.
I'm making a mental note because I'm very different when it comes to selecting products that I want to sell on Amazon. Like most people think it's too risky. I think I want to make sure personally that I'm passionate about or would like to be passionate about the product. That doesn't mean I run out and sell it. I have a whole bunch of other criteria I go through, but currently my brands do not have a D2C approach on a website. Instead, we have more of a B2B, which is we're just trying to make ourselves appealing to the Walmarts and Targets and all that stuff. And it's always worked for me.
Yeah.
The pandemic either giving me too much time to think or seeing the way things went is like, wait a minute, like we got to go D2C. I'm a WordPress person, but now it's Shopify. I know you. So now it's like, okay, like I send a quick text message, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. But a few questions here.
Go ahead.
One, well, you know what? Let me split these questions up because they're not totally related. This is just my mind going into overdrive. And that is, I would love to like get those steps that you have, like those 4 steps, and work them into my product evaluation process.
Sure.
To start selling the product on Amazon, because I know I don't want to end on Amazon. Like I want to go way beyond that. So why not, especially for the people that are very mercenary, I feel, in their approach to like whatever they're selling. It's like very day traderish.
Right.
Whatever my tool's dashboard said was lacking right now. Yeah. Why not add that in? You're almost hedging your bets, so to speak. So that's an interesting train of thought. I wonder if you've ever thought about that.
Like in terms of the channel exposure.
Yeah. So let's use the toothbrush. So like say I looked at Jungle Scout, and Jungle Scout shows me that in the regular, what we know, like plain Jane toothbrushes, that there's an opportunity. There's obviously not, but like there's an opportunity on Amazon for this because my competitors have bad images. They don't have many reviews, like the typical criteria that people use.
Sure.
Like let's say I even looked in there and used some good sense, and I looked at the keywords that were involved and discovered that there's some keywords I could really dominate on that are not so competitive, right?
Right.
If I pick that, there is a chance that I could succeed on Amazon. But from what you're saying, that might just be where I die, because if I try to take this off into Shopify, or if I approach your agency, you guys are going to be like, no, you don't pass the toothbrush test. So I'm not going to work with you. So what I'm saying is, why not in that same evaluation process, like maybe I'm still using Jungle Scout, that I add in that toothbrush test criteria thinking ahead that once I conquer Amazon, I want to be able to, go to Colin and say, hey, look, I passed a toothbrush test. I validated this on Amazon. Am I a good fit? That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's, at the end of the day, I think that, so shout out to my friend, Amy, Amazing at Home. I got to give a shout out to her.
For sure. Me too. I'm giving a shout out to Amy. She's awesome.
Yeah. I had a great conversation with her the other day. And that's what I was telling you about, like learning from people in the Amazon space. I think I joked around with you not that long ago. I said, I spend significantly more time at Amazon events than I do Shopify events. Right. And she gave me a really amazing term to describe, the way that she perceives products. We had this like really amazing conversation, two copywriters talking about products. You're just going to go down the rabbit hole. And she really opened my mind to the idea of what a true private label seller is, right? And I think that that's really where, from the pure Amazon perspective, like somebody who's really looking, who their focal point is to get on Amazon, sell on Amazon, and build and sell a product on Amazon. I think that that's a really critical part of the product selection part that I hope people will obviously start to recognize, because that is a very critical part of your business development. And one of the things I know she coaches on, and that she gave me some insight into her business about, was explaining that Amazon is a sales channel, right? That's really what it's meant to be used as. And you have to pick your products as such, right? And I think that what you're saying is a very critical part to looking at e-commerce as a whole, not just as a channel, right? So when you start to perceive products in that way, you're thinking bigger picture without even kind of realizing. You might not have even spent a penny on Facebook or Instagram advertising, but you're already setting yourself up for down the line success. So that if there's one piece of advice or like tip, I guess, that I could give to somebody in the Amazon space, because I can't give a lot, in relation to some of the experts like you, but I can say that that's a great point to bring up, is think of your product down the line. Don't just think of it, if now granted, don't get me wrong. If you have a product that you're going to do very well with on Amazon, don't discard it if you don't think you could sell it on Shopify. But if you do want to have that multi-channel presence, at least from the D2C e-commerce side, that's a really great point to bring up, is pick those products as such.
Yeah, it's something I made some changes that, and I'll get off my rabbit hole, out of my rabbit hole in a second, but I made some changes during the pandemic too, that like I was going to add certain criteria to my product selection process. I mean, at the end of the day, we're in control of that, right? Like we get to pick what we want to pick regardless of your criteria. So why not think bigger or beyond, or like don't cut yourself off before you started. That's what I'm saying. I would imagine that like one of the things I've done to get like creative ideas for products is look at Kickstarter.com. I would imagine that things on Kickstarter are probably going to fall either in the sweet spot or too sweet, as far as like too ahead.
For sure. Yeah. Kickstarters are great because they have the majority of their products have that new opportunity component to them. I like to call them like direct response products, products that like people see and they want them right now, and those are the kind of products that perform very well on these customer acquisition channels that need to captivate people's attention. When you're marketing on these channels, you have all these you have content, but one of the number one things you need, I don't want to say it is the number one thing, but I'd say one of the top three things you need, you got to keep people's attention, right? And boring products just don't keep people's attention. Now you can do content and copywriting, all these things that kind of that can help leverage all those things. But the product itself has to keep people's attention in order to really grow at least profitably, because like I said, traffic is just it's getting so much more expensive. It's not getting cheaper. I can tell you that much.
So really, when, in your opinion, should somebody be thinking about Shopify? And when also does this apply to, let me see how to say this. Yeah. So when should someone in their journey be thinking about Shopify? Amazon PL seller, be thinking about Shopify. And we're talking about Shopify, and Shopify is your zone of genius, but are we also talking about WordPress, or it's like, no WP, we're just talking about Shopify?
So we've done some work with WordPress brands. I have a CBD company that we work with that they actually with CBD on Amazon. It's hit or miss from one day to the next. One day you're on, one day you're off, right?
Suspension or not.
Yeah, right. And so they're on WordPress, and so we've done stuff on WordPress. The reason why I personally like Shopify, just in general, is because it's just very simple. We can get quick data, we can get quick plugins, quick apps. A lot of the apps that we use, they provide really detailed insights, really detailed metrics, and it's just an easy platform to work with. You know, we've got page builders that go in, you've got the upsell apps, it's got everything to really just maximize your lifetime value. It plugs in with everything just seamlessly, right? In relation to your question about when a business should think about making the expansion, right? So what I never like to go through like a revenue model or anything like that. Like, I don't think there's a sweet spot in number or really psychology, but this is what I like to say. No matter what channel, let's say I was just advertising on, let's say from a Shopify perspective, as somebody who works predominantly on Shopify with my D2C brands. If I go and I want to explore a marketing channel, right? Let's say Facebook and Instagram, and then I want to go and do YouTube, and then I want to go and do Google. Each one of those channels is going to require a pretty decent amount of capital, right? In order for me to market on Facebook and Instagram, it's going to be an expense. In order to market on Google, it's going to be an expense, and similarly down the line, no matter where I'm marketing. So what I would say is, from a brand perspective, or a PL perspective, I would say, where do you feel your business is in relation to being able to expand and allocate resources to expanding your sales channels? Because remember, not only do you have to allocate capital towards it, but you have to there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built, right? E-commerce, like D2C e-commerce, requires a lot of infrastructure. You have to build emails. Ironically, I actually kind of say it's between, if you're looking at Amazon and Shopify, I would say Shopify is like the storefront, right? Like, Shopify is where you got to go build your website. You have to build infrastructure. So, it really comes down to a business owner's, I think their own personal evaluation of their business. I never like to give numbers, right? Because I never want to say somebody who's only making $20,000 a month on Amazon is ineligible to sell on Shopify. It wouldn't be fair to say. I would say, from a financial standpoint, you probably aren't ready to make that leap, because you're going to allocate, a pretty decent amount of money to building out your infrastructure, to advertising on these channels, so you have all those fees and stuff associated with just getting up and running. So it really boils down to what your level of expertise is on Amazon, how much you're selling, how much you feel ready to make that leap. There's no sweet spot on the number. I think it just has a lot to do with the person's psychology on where they are with the brand, and saying, have I mastered this? Like, if I'm doing really well, and I always find a way to bring things back to Shopify, because that's where everybody wants to know where they want to end up. If I'm not doing well on Facebook and Instagram, I don't want to go and move on to YouTube. I need to go deep into Facebook and Instagram, because in order to make it better, I need to get data. And unless you're an influencer, you don't have your own traffic. So in order to get data, you got to spend money. You got to keep buying ads. You got to keep spending money to get that data. So imagine you're selling on Amazon, but you're simultaneously trying to get data from Facebook, Instagram, building your store, building everything you need to do to sustain this brand, while you're simultaneously trying to, if you're trying to figure it out on Amazon still, it doesn't really make it doesn't make business sense in general. It's not really a matter of traffic channels, just a matter of, do you think it's a right business move for your business at this point?
The part you just,
wider.
Yeah, always deeper before wider.
Yeah.
Where you just said that, if your ads are not working the way you want on Facebook and Instagram, then it's not the time to just say, well, I need to do YouTube ads, right? It reminded me of I forget who. He recently did something with Tony Robbins, but it was this concept of planes fly. Have you heard it? Like, planes fly, meaning that if a plane crashes, you don't look at it and say, first of all, I hope everyone's all right. But like, if the plane crashes, you don't say, of course it crashed. It's this, X amount of ton metal thing, and it's heavy. Instead, you just know that there's like aerodynamics and all this other thing involved. And I feel like that happens a lot. Like, somebody will attempt to run a Facebook ad, and they'll have no experience. They did no study. They didn't have a mentor. They don't have a coach. They didn't hire an agency. They threw X amount of dollars at it and they say, Facebook ads do not work for my business. Right. And it's like, yeah, they do. I mean, they work for Coca-Cola. They work for everybody. Planes fly. It's kind of like planes fly. Yeah.
Totally. Yes. I know you're 100. Listen, that you're 100% right. And that's a really great takeaway. I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that we do get asked, which is like, oh, I heard Facebook ads don't work. Well, it's not necessarily, remember, Facebook ads is like, I always like to think of it, it's just people, it's just traffic. It doesn't really matter if to say that Facebook ads don't work, you would be saying that buying traffic doesn't work, right? Getting traffic to your website doesn't work. It's just, do you have the proper infrastructure to sustain that traffic? Do you have the things, the tools that are required for a Shopify or a D2C e-commerce brand? Do you have the infrastructure that you need to properly support that traffic? Email marketing, right? This is just a little touch on that. Email marketing is really great for front end acquisition. It really helps to maximize the return on your investment because technically that's what when you're buying traffic, you are making an investment in people, right? Like if it's costing you $2 to get somebody to your page and to stay on that page, you've literally just invested $2 of your money to get somebody to that page. Now you have to have the infrastructure to not only convert them with copywriting, content, the structure from that, the differing structure infrastructure between those two and Amazon is very different. It looks very different because the intent is a lot less. There's a lot less intent there. So anyway, the point is with email marketing, if you have email marketing to help capture data, collecting data, a lot of people, they have a page, they have a website, and they start throwing Facebook traffic in there, and everybody's got this magical 2% conversion rate that they think just exists, right? It doesn't just exist. That's what the average store does. That's not what every store who just launched.
Because you exist.
Yeah, because you exist. You're not going to convert it 2%. 2% is like the standard. That's the benchmark for saying your store is doing decent, right? Now, how can we optimize it, right? But you need to have that infrastructure. We use email infrastructure to collect data, not only so that we can sell products, but because data becomes an asset to your business, right? There's a lot of companies that are looking at Facebook as only a customer acquisition, which it is. It's a very strong customer acquisition channel. I don't want to, water that down, but it's also a data acquisition channel, right? Like when people are coming to my page from Instagram, from social media, from YouTube, from anywhere, I'm not just trying to get them to buy. I'm also trying to collect their data because that's an asset for my business. If I ever want to get acquired, if I ever want to kind of grow this business, I don't only want just people coming in and out of, I call it an in and out traffic problem. They come, they look at your page. If they don't like it, they leave. If you have no infrastructure to retarget them, if you have no retargeting strategy, if you have no media buying strategy, it sounds funny. There's different levels to how you target people based on their awareness of your brand. So if you're retargeting a certain way, there's so many variables and that's why you have professional media buyers. If it was easy and everybody could just launch a Facebook ad, there would be no such thing as media buying, right? If anybody could do PPC on Amazon, everybody would be getting rich, right? We'd all be billionaires is what I say. So it really comes down to, do you have the infrastructure? So do you have the product? Sure. A good product can help, right? A good product can help eliminate the need for crazy, long form landing pages and stuff like that. I don't know if it's sustainable. If you just have one little product page and you don't have any infrastructure to back it up, it can help. But you really need to have that long-term brand kind of concept when you're looking to do Shopify and all these other things when it comes to getting traffic from Facebook.
Like we're talking a lot about investment, infrastructure. Mm-hmm. You talked about how you really didn't want to be like commit to a number, but that probably somebody at 20,000 a month, let's say, may not be ready for that sort of investment.
Sure.
Are you able to give like general numbers to somebody that's thinking about this? Like there's plugins,
Sure.
I love how email marketing companies sell you the tool and it's super easy, but it's like, you do know copy needs to go on that thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's $30 a month, but like somebody's got to write that. Like somebody's got to read it and somebody's got to want it.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody's got to build it. Somebody has to build the emails. You have to build nice looking emails. You have to have and it gets tricky because it goes, like you said, it goes into infrastructure. So like if you have a blog, right, and you want people to read your blog from your brand, you got to send them an email. That email has a very quick snippet. It's got a little picture of the blog, but you never want to write the blog on that email. You want to send people to your page. You want to generate the traffic because you can pixel them and you can bring them right back and retarget. It gets nerdy. It gets real digital marketing nerdy. But to answer your question, it's hard because it depends really on what level of infrastructure the person wants to build. Every business has different levels of infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, it can be email marketing, landing pages, websites. If you have a functioning website, I'll give you a great example, as a matter of fact. So one of the first clients we ever took on, they're a really great case study. I think I've sent you their case study. They are a seller of organic supplements on Amazon. They're one of the number ones, over 6,000 reviews. They have really solid rankings. They're really, really good business. They had a pretty decent website. It wasn't crappy by any stretch of the imagination. It looked like it should be doing well, but it was converting at like a 0.4 conversion rate. So that just goes to show you the 2% thing is just literally not applicable to all businesses, because they actually had a decent website. Anyway, we looked at their business. We said, okay, what you don't have a problem with people necessarily coming to your website. You just have a customer acquisition problem in general. So how do we acquire customers for you? Well, we're going to build you a landing page. We would call it an acquisition page. And that acquisition page is going to have a special offer on it. It's going to have a unique way to get people to become a part of your business, brand, and movement. So we developed this landing page. I'm sure some people are familiar with the term ClickFunnels or something like that. So think of how you build a landing page, but this is actually attached to Shopify using a page builder. We build a page. It's got a special offer. It's got really high converting direct response copywriting on it. Really, the goal is to acquire customers. And then what we do is we notice that this person, the name of the company is Organic Muscle. So they didn't have email infrastructure either. So now what was happening, not only did they have a customer acquisition problem, they also had a customer retention problem, because they had no way to engage with their customers. They had no way to provide value. They had no way to provide sales information about when they were going to run sales. They didn't have any of this infrastructure. So for them, we built the landing page. We went in, they had emails from somebody who had done work on their email marketing. But like you said, they were just terribly built. I mean, just so ugly. And very non-brandish, right? Like there was no brand behind it. It was just a bunch of text and a couple of cheesy pictures. So we had to rebuild their email infrastructure. For them, the investment, right, outweighed the cost, so to speak, right? It was a very valuable investment for them, because now they could engage with their customers. They could acquire customers using a special offer. And what makes that special is when you have that special offer on that page, you don't have to discount on your website. People are coming across this page on social media. We're sending traffic to it on social media, but they're not coming into your main website. They're seeing the social media special offer, or what we would call, we named it the Organic Warrior Bundle, right? And they've got this bundle offer. It came with a really nice, which is another important thing, is how you develop your offers on D2C e-commerce. You have to have a really enticing offer to get people these days to say, oh, wow, if I don't take this, I feel silly that I didn't take advantage of this offer. So we help them source these bottles, these tornado bottles that are like battery powered. We found them for like $2 or $3. I'm sure lots of your listeners are familiar with finding cheap products, online. And we sourced it and we included it in the offer for free. And now we've got a deep, and it's doing wonders for them. So now we can go deep on that offer and on that page. So we're sending all the traffic to that page. We're collecting data. We're using it to acquire people and then bring them back into the business through the back end with email to talk to them about our brand mission, why this is so good for you, how did this happen? The owner has an amazing before and after story. He was overweight. These are all things that people like, and we're seeing this shift post-COVID. Like we know, Google just recently released an article talking about how the shift in e-commerce has really changed consumers from looking at just buying a product to really buying values, right? Like why are you selling this product? Not what are you selling? You know what I mean? Like, why is this an important product to your business and to your brand? And we found that we've seen purchases come in from the front end, from the acquisition side. And literally within 3 days, we've had customers come back after they get the mission statement, come back and spend $150, $200 after spending 40, right? Because you get that communication. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that these are all varying forms of infrastructure. Some people might not even have a website, or their website, or they just have a placeholder website that's just there to show that you are a real existing brand, not just something that's, you know, selling on Amazon. So it just really depends on where you're at with your business and how big you want to go. If you want to build a brand new website, acquisition pages, emails, run on Facebook and Instagram, do Google, that's a pretty sizable investment. You need media buyers for Facebook and Instagram. You need a Google media buyer. You need to buy, you know, you're gonna have to pay for a brand new website, more than likely, landing pages. It adds up. I could say that for, at the very least, if you wanted me to give a ballpark figure on numbers, I would say roughly, for at least the basic infrastructure of landing pages and maybe email, you probably want to be around 40 to 50,000 a month. Don't stick me to it, you know, because that depends on what your margins are, right? So if you have really solid margins on that 50K, if you have really solid margins on 40, 30K, there's just depends, you know. But I'd say that that's more or less what we've seen. You know, the breaking point that I've seen which really revolves more around the psychology is, I've got a business, I'm going deep on Amazon. Now I want to go horizontal. I want to go somewhere else. That usually occurs right around 70,000. That's pretty consistent. The number 70 to 80,000, right around cracking $1 million a year, right then and there, because you're starting to look at things a little bit differently. You're not trying to figure it out. You're trying to expand now. I hope that helps. The numbers thing is tough.
No, that was amazing. That's probably like one of the best explanations of that I've heard.
I appreciate it.
I want to ask you another, like a two-part question here.
Sure.
And that is, one part of this is so people can have an idea of what it looks like to work with you and to work with Brain Power, right? So sure. I'll try to put you on the spot a little bit, and that is, let's say that I have
I'm even sitting up for it.
Let's say I have let's say 3 million a year in sales on a pair of Tango dance shoes. And I have let's just say it's something unique. Like maybe the heel does something unique. There is something visually, aesthetically different about this. So we're definitely not the plain toothbrush. Like, we're sitting in the middle.
Love it.
And let's say I reach out to you. I don't know if there's a form on the site or an email, or we have a really cool call. I send you the stuff, and you're going to get back to me and let me know if you're going to select my product, and that I can, that you'll work with me. What are, if I was looking over your shoulder and you're in front of your computer, like you're in the command chair, right?
Sure.
What are like the first 3 things you look at if I was looking over your shoulder? Computer's on, go.
Love it. Love that. Okay. So first thing I would look at, so outside of the computer, the first thing we do is the 4 things that I told you about, which is the 4 components: opportunity, desire, experience, replacement, right? What's the new opportunity associated with this new shoe? We know there's probably desire for it. You're doing 3 million a year for the dancing shoe. What's the new mechanism, and what are we replacing? Old dancing shoes that maybe don't help you turn as well, right? So that's the first thing we're going to look at. So it's not computer wise, but that's definitely the first thing. The second thing that we're going to look at is I'm going to start looking online to see, I'm going to do basic research, what I would call, right? So the first thing I'm going to research is I use something called Audience Insights on Facebook. It's going to be disappearing soon, unfortunately. I don't know what they're going to be replacing it with. Super bummed about that. But obviously there's other tools that we can use. But Audience Insights is great. It gives me a general understanding of the audience. Who are these people? What are they buying? What's important to them? Ironically, the second, I guess number 2 in our top 3, so we can put Audience Insight with a little asterisk around it because it's disappearing. I would go on Google, and the first thing I would start doing is I would just type in dance shoes, right? Like, I want to see I would ask you a little bit of information about the dance shoe. And then I want to see what the competitive landscape looks like, right? I want to see how many people pop up on Google Shopping. I want to see how many ads are being ran. I'll probably use SEMrush or SEMrush, however you pronounce it. You know, I want to see the volume. I want to see the search volume. I want to see demand for the product. I want to see is this a space that I can outmarket the competition in, right? Not really compete, but like outmarket them, outsmart them in with our new mechanism, with our new opportunity. And then what I would do then is I use Amazon. And what I do, this is a cool little gem if people want to, you'll learn about, you know, how to isolate pain points. So what I do is I create a word cloud, and I will go on Amazon and I will go through 3 levels of reviews, right? So I will go through the 1-star reviews, the 3-star reviews, and the 5-star reviews. And then I create a word cloud for each level of reviews. So I'll go through the 5-star reviews, and I will basically look at all of your competitors. I'll ask you who your top competitors are in our conversation. I would say, okay, Carlos, who are your competitors in the space? And I'm going to go through all the 5-star reviews. What are the things that everybody who purchases your competitor's product, what is it that they love? The 3-star reviews are my favorite, because the 3-star reviews are usually the most logical. The product hasn't changed my life, but it hasn't ruined it either, right? It's like, it's going to give you, it's great, but. So then what I do is I copy and paste I copy all the 5-star reviews, hundreds of them. You know, we go through as many. If you have hundreds of reviews, we'll go through as many as we need. And we paste each one of those levels into a word cloud. And for any of your listeners that don't know what a word cloud is, it's basically, it's a software that you could just paste all these words in, and it will pick the most prevalent words in those reviews. So what I'll do is I'll go through every single one of those 3 levels of reviews, and then I'll see what are people complaining. The 1-star reviews are great too, because now I know what people don't like about your competitors' products. And then I'll go back to you and I'll say, hey, Carlos, does your product do this? Can your product fulfill this promise? Because at the end of the day with marketing, it boils down to making a promise and keeping it, right? That's really what we want to do. So if I can make the promise that your product solved X and gives your consumer result Y, there's no amount of value that your potential customer would not pay to solve that problem if it's a legitimate problem. And then the last thing we do is we start to go look into what are some of the common questions that people are asking about the product that you're selling. There's a really great resource. It's called Answer the Public. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I use it all the time. It's gold. It's great for asking questions. We will definitely type in to see what questions people are asking. So once we establish that we like the product and it makes those, and then one last thing is we go through Google Trends. We'll go through Google Trends. We'll use BuzzSumo. We want to see if there's any traction. You know, like I said, turmeric, apple cider vinegar, gummies. 5 years ago, they weren't what they are now, right? So we look for a trend or a shift in the market. That's why I was telling you there was those little little caveats in the 4 things we were looking for: opportunity, desire, experience, replacement. We can look for a trend, because we can ride a really solid trend. Keto, right? Keto it's probably not going anywhere, right? Might not have the same exact strength that it did a year and a half ago, or maybe it does. I haven't done enough research on the market. I don't have any clients in that space currently. But I do know that I can ride that trend more than likely. So I try and combine all of those things. It's not super linear. I wish my business partner and Camilo and I just had a discussion about this probably yesterday, about how can we make this linear? And it's kind of tough because there are shades of gray and everything, but definitely a lot of research, lots of competitive research, lots of demand research, and kind of lots of pain point research. And it all boils down to copywriting, because everything that I just talked about is going to fuel the copy.
I love it, man. If that was my real product that I was doing, I'd be sold, and I'd ask you to go ahead and send me that invoice. Anybody listening that's sold, what's the best way that they can reach out to you and explore more? Like maybe they're not, maybe they're at 15 to 20, but they know they're about to put the pedal to the metal and they just want to explore options, or they're already in that sweet spot and you sold them.
Great.
Right. Or they have a Tango dance shoe, whatever the case may be. Like how do they contact you?
Sure. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. You can email me. It's Collin, at brainpower.agency. You can also reach out to me. I'm very active on LinkedIn. If you spell my name Caulin, Caulen in LinkedIn, there's a very small likelihood that anybody else is going to pop up. So you'll probably see me pop right up. But yeah, those are the best ways to get in touch with me. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it. It's, it's one of those things, man, where, like I tell you, I do this all day. And for anybody who's listening, who maybe they're not at that number, like, reach out to me anyway. I'll look at your product and I can tell you, I would rather provide value to somebody telling them that this probably won't work, even if we're not going to work together, or that I probably wouldn't take it, just so that they have the knowledge, right? And why? Because then what happens if you don't come to me and you go to somebody? Because one thing we're big on at our agency, we don't sell success. We don't sell you the dream unless we genuinely think we can work with your product. We don't just take any product. So I'd rather somebody come to me and save them the headache of some of the business owners that I've worked with, who have said, man, I went on Upwork, or, not to knock Upwork, because Upwork's not a bad place, but, I went on Upwork and I just spent 20 grand and I've got nothing to show for it, and somebody told me that we could just run Facebook ads. I'll give somebody an honest approach and say, hey, this is probably why it won't work. But if you're killing it on Amazon, just go deep on Amazon, right? So I don't want anybody to feel discouraged if they want to reach out to me about their product. If they're doing 10,000, 5,000 a month, I've always told you, I'm a value guy first. If you want to set up a call with me and you want me to just look at your product for a couple minutes, I'm happy to do it. I do this all day.
Caulin, you crushed it. I love the energy. I love the golden nuggets you shared. I'm going to leave your email, your website, your LinkedIn link. Everything's going to be in the show notes. Hopefully you don't get like 50 people all wanting that in-depth research you talked about, because they know how time consuming that can be.
Yeah, totally. No, it does get time.
Before completely letting you off the hook, so you and I can go back to our respective jobs and not have to fire ourselves. I ask this of everyone who's on the show, what is your favorite book and why?
Oh, easy question. So there is a book called Breakthrough Advertising. It was written by a gentleman named Eugene Schwartz. And the reason why I love it, this book, so my background is in copywriting and direct response marketing, and basically getting people to take action now, so to speak. But the reason why I love this book, besides the fact that it just goes so deep into understanding winning products that do well, why products don't do well, is it was written in like 1965. And the concepts are more applicable now probably than ever, because of everything that's going on with how people are buying online, getting people to purchase right now. I highly recommend the book to anybody. It's very dense. It's a little advanced, but if you really want to just get a great marketing book to just keep in your library and always be able to reference it, I think I told you before, Carlos, I've read this book probably on and off, touch and go, at least 4 to 5 times, just browsing through it, because it's very dense, but hands down one of the best books I've ever read.
I love it. I'm not sure that I've read it. I'm going to check my library. Audible, Kindle, and paperback hardcover to see if I have it. If not, I'm going to grab it. Thank you again for coming on the show. I look forward to having you back on the show soon. And I really look forward to executing on these like workshop style events that we're talking about doing with the meetup groups. It's gonna be really exciting 2021. Thank you, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me.
It was fun sharing this episode with you. If you found value in what you've heard, please show your love with a subscribe, rate, and review of the show. Until next time.